The December wind cuts through my thin jacket like broken glass as I push through the door of Rosie's diner, the bell above jangling its tired greeting. My fingers are numb, my feet aching from the 2-hour shift I just finished at the hospital laundry across town, and I still have 6 more hours here before I can collapse into bed. Welcome to my life at 26. 2 jobs, one tiny studio apartment in the worst part of Chicago's South Side, and a bank account that laughs at the word savings. "You're late, Mara," Tommy calls from behind the counter, but there's no real anger in his voice. He knows I'm coming from my other job. He knows I need this one just as badly. Traffic. I lie, unwinding my scarf. The truth is, I ran 3 blocks to catch the bus, then sprinted another 2 when I missed it anyway. But Tommy doesn't need to hear about my failures. I tie on my apron, the faded pink fabric worn soft from 1,000 washes, and grab my order pad. The dinner rush at Rosie's isn't much of a rush anymore. The diner has seen better days. Better decades, really. With its cracked vinyl booths and flickering neon sign that only reads, "Row Eyes" now. But it's home in a way nothing else has been since I lost my parents in a car accident 5 years ago. The evening crowd is the usual mix. Lau Ed Murphy in his corner booth, nursing his 3rd coffee. The nursing students from County General grabbing burgers between shifts, a couple of truck drivers passing through. Nothing unusual, nothing threatening, just the comfortable rhythm of working-class Chicago trying to get through another winter. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. I'm refilling Ed's coffee when the door opens, bringing with it a gust of wind and something else, something that makes the air in the diner feel different, heavier. 3 men enter, and every head in the place turns because men like these don't walk into Rosie's diner. The first 2 are huge, broad-shouldered in expensive black coats, their eyes scanning the room with professional efficiency. Security, or something like it. But it's the 3rd man who makes my breath catch in my throat. He's tall, probably 6'2", with dark hair styled with casual precision and a jawline that could cut diamonds. His coat is charcoal cashmere, his suit beneath it clearly tailored, his shoes polished to a mirror shine. He looks like he stepped out of a magazine spread about men who own cities, not men who eat meatloaf at diners where the vinyl is held together with duct tape. And he looks furious. His dark eyes sweep the diner with undisguised disdain, his mouth set in a hard line. One of his security guys murmurs something to him, gesturing toward a booth, but he waves him off impatiently. They take a booth near the back, the 2 security guys flanking him like bookends. I watch as Tommy approaches with menus, his usual friendly smile in place, but even from across the room, I can see the stranger's dismissive gesture, the way he doesn't even look at Tommy as he waves him away. Something hot and sharp flares in my chest. Anger, maybe? Or just exhaustion, with men who think money means they can treat people like furniture. "New customer," Tommy says as he passes me, his smile strained. "Booth 7. Good luck." I take a deep breath, paste on my professional smile, and approach their table. Up close, the stranger is even more striking, all sharp angles and expensive cologne that probably costs more than my rent. But his expression is cold, bored, as if being here is the worst imposition of his day. "Good evening, gentlemen," I say, pulling out my order pad. "Welcome to Rosie's. Can I start you with—" "Coffee," the stranger interrupts without looking up from his phone. "Black. And make it quick." Not "please." Not even eye contact. Just a command issued to someone he clearly considers beneath his notice. The 2 security guys glance at each other, something like concern flickering across their faces, but they say nothing. "Of course," I say, my smile tightening. "And for you 2? Same?" the one on the left says, his tone considerably more polite. Thank you. I return with 3 coffees, setting them down carefully. The stranger still hasn't looked up from his phone, his fingers flying across the screen with irritated precision. Have you had a chance to look at the menu? I ask, keeping my voice level. Our special tonight is... I don't want the special, he says, still not looking up. I want a steak. Medium rare. No vegetables, no sauce. Nothing fancy. Can you handle that? The casual contempt in his voice makes something snap inside me. I've been awake for 18 hours. My feet hurt. My back aches. And I am so tired of men like this. Men who think the world exists to serve them. We don't have steak, I say, my tone cooling. This is a diner, not a steakhouse. We have burgers, meatloaf, chicken. Then a burger, he interrupts, waving his hand dismissively. Medium rare, no bun, no toppings, just the meat. Surely even a place like this can manage that. A place like this. The words hang in the air between us, dripping with disdain. Around us, the diner has gone quiet. Ed Murphy watches from his corner booth, his coffee cup frozen halfway to his lips. The nursing students have stopped talking. Even Tommy has stilled behind the counter. Actually, I hear myself say, my voice clear and steady despite the fury building in my chest. I don't think we can. The stranger's eyes finally leave his phone, rising to meet mine. They're dark, almost black, and sharp with surprise that's quickly morphing into something more dangerous. Excuse me? I said we can't serve you, I repeat, my heart hammering but my voice steady. We're very busy tonight, and I think you'd be more comfortable somewhere else, somewhere that meets your standards. One of the security guys makes a strangled sound. The other has gone completely still, his hand moving instinctively toward his jacket. But I'm not looking at them. I'm looking at the stranger, watching as shock gives way to something else. Something I can't quite read. His eyes narrow, studying me with sudden intensity, as if really seeing me for the first time. You're refusing to serve me, he says slowly, as if testing the words. Not a question, but a statement laden with disbelief. Yes, I say simply. I am. The silence in the diner is absolute. Someone could drop a pin and it would sound like a gunshot. Then, impossibly, the stranger's lips curve into something that might be a smile, though there's nothing warm about it. Do you know who I am? No, I say honestly. And I don't particularly care. You're rude, dismissive, and you clearly think you're better than everyone here. So yes, I'm refusing to serve you. You're welcome to leave. For a long moment, nobody moves. The stranger continues to study me with that unnerving intensity, his expression unreadable. Then he stands, his movements slow and deliberate, and suddenly I realize how tall he really is, how he towers over me. One of the security guys leans in, murmuring urgently, "Boss, maybe we should—" "Quiet," the stranger says softly, never taking his eyes off me. Boss. The word registers, but I'm too committed now to back down. What's your name? He asks, his voice low and dangerous. Mara, I say, lifting my chin. Mara Collins. Mara Collins, he repeats, as if memorizing it. You have fire, I respect that. He reaches into his jacket, and every muscle in my body tenses, but he only pulls out a wallet, thick with bills. He extracts several $100 bills and places them on the table with deliberate care. For the inconvenience, he says, his eyes still locked on mine. And the entertainment. Then he turns and walks toward the door, his security team scrambling to follow. At the threshold, he pauses, looking back at me one last time. I'll see you again, Mara Collins, he says, and it sounds like a promise and a threat all at once. The door closes behind him, the bell jingling merrily, completely at odds with the tension crackling in the air. For a moment, the diner remains silent. Then Ed Murphy starts to laugh, a low chuckle that builds into a full belly laugh. "Girl," he says, shaking his head, "do you have any idea what you just did?" I look down at the $100 bills on the table, at least 5 of them, maybe 6. More money than I make in a week. "I refused service to a rude customer," I say, my voice not quite as steady as I'd like. "That was Dominic Russo," Tommy says from behind the counter, his face pale. "That was Dominic Russo, and you just threw him out of my diner." The name means nothing to me at first. Then I see the way everyone is looking at me, the mixture of awe and fear in their eyes, and something cold settles in my stomach. "Who's Dominic Russo?" I ask, though I'm not sure I want to know the answer. Tommy exchanges a glance with Ed Murphy. "He owns half the South Side," he says quietly. "Some people say he owns half of Chicago. He's—" Tommy stops, clearly struggling for the right words. "He's not someone you refuse service to, Mara. He's not someone you say no to." The cold feeling in my stomach intensifies. "What do you mean, owns?" "I mean he's connected," Tommy says, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper. "The Russo family, they're the family, if you know what I mean. The kind of people who don't take disrespect well." "Mafia." He's talking about the Mafia. I just threw a Mafia boss out of Rosie's diner. My legs feel weak suddenly, and I sink into the booth the stranger, Dominic Russo, just vacated. The leather is still warm from his body heat, and his scent lingers, expensive and masculine. "Am I in trouble?" I ask, my voice small. Ed Murphy has stopped laughing. He's looking at me with something like pity now. "Hard to say, girl. Russo's not like the old bosses. He's smart, educated, runs his operations like legitimate businesses, but he's still Russo. Still dangerous." I think about the way he looked at me, the intensity in his dark eyes, the slight curve of his lips when I refused him. "You have fire," he'd said. "I respect that." "He didn't seem angry," I venture, grasping at straws. "He left money." "That's what worries me," Tommy says, sliding into the booth across from me. "If he was angry, he would have dealt with it right then. But this is interest. And trust me, Mara, you don't want Dominic Russo interested in you. But it's too late for that, isn't it? I can still feel his eyes on me, still hear his voice. I'll see you again, Mara Collins. Not, maybe I'll see you, or perhaps we'll meet again. Just a simple statement of fact, delivered with absolute certainty. I gather the $100 bills with shaking hands counting them. $600, more than double what I'd make tonight in tips even on the best night we've ever had. "What do I do?" I ask, looking between Tommy and Ed. Tommy sighs, running a hand through his thinning hair. "You finish your shift, you go home, and you hope to God that Dominic Russo has bigger things to worry about than a waitress who bruised his ego." But as I stand and return to work, moving through the motions of refilling coffees and taking orders, I can't shake the feeling that hoping isn't going to be enough. Dominic Russo said he'd see me again, and men like him don't make empty promises. The rest of my shift passes in a blur. Every time the door opens, my heart jumps into my throat, expecting to see him again. Or worse, his security team. But it's just the usual customers. People who've been coming to Rosie's for years. People who know my name and tip in quarters and dollar bills. By the time midnight rolls around and Tommy flips the sign to closed, I'm exhausted in a way that goes beyond physical tiredness. It's the bone-deep weariness of fear and adrenaline finally crashing. "You want me to walk you to the bus?" Tommy offers as I untie my apron. I almost laugh. Tommy is 62, barely 5'6", and has a bad hip. If anyone should be protecting anyone, it should be me protecting him. But the offer touches me anyway. "I'll be fine," I say, managing a smile. It's just 3 blocks. Take tomorrow off, he says suddenly. With pay. You've earned it. We both know he can't really afford to give me a day off with pay, not with how slow business has been. But I'm too tired to argue. Thanks, Tommy. The December night is brutally cold, the wind whipping down the empty street and cutting through my thin jacket. I pull it tighter and start walking, my breath clouding in front of me, my footsteps echoing on the pavement. 3 blocks to the bus stop. Just 3 blocks. I've walked this route 1,000 times. But tonight, every shadow seems darker, every sound amplified. A car passes and I flinch. A door slams somewhere and my heart races. You're being paranoid, I mutter to myself. He's not going to. I stop walking. Parked at the bus stop, idling with its exhaust creating clouds in the cold air, is a black SUV. Expensive, with tinted windows, completely out of place in this neighborhood where most people drive decade-old sedans if they drive at all. As I watch, the back door opens. Every instinct screams at me to run, but my feet are frozen to the sidewalk. A figure emerges from the SUV, tall and imposing, and even before he steps into the light of the street lamp, I know who it is. Dominic Russo. He's changed since the diner, traded his suit for dark jeans and a black leather jacket, but he's no less imposing. If anything, he looks more dangerous like this, less polished businessman and more what he really is. Mara Collins, he says, his voice carrying easily across the distance between us. We need to talk. My mouth is dry, my heart hammering. I have nothing to say to you. Perhaps not, he agrees, taking a step toward me. But I have things to say to you. Get in the car. It's a command, not a request. The same tone he used in the diner, the one that expects obedience. No, I hear myself say. He stops, surprise flickering across his face before it's replaced by something else. Amusement? Intrigue? No, he repeats. No, I confirm, finding my courage. You're not my boss, Mr. Russo. You can't just order me around. Actually, he says, his lips curving into that dangerous, almost smile. I own the company that owns the hospital where you work laundry, so technically, I am your boss. The words hit me like a physical blow. He knows about my other job. He's already been checking up on me. How long have you been here? I demand, anger overriding fear. Have you been watching me? Only for the last hour, he says, as if that makes it better. I wanted to make sure you got home safely. Chicago can be dangerous at night, especially for women who refuse service to the wrong people. Is that a threat? No, Mara, it's a fact. He takes another step closer, and I force myself not to retreat. The South Side isn't safe. There are people who would hurt you just for the money in your pocket, let alone for the satisfaction of hurting someone who disrespected me. I didn't know who you were, I say, hating how defensive I sound. I know, he says, and his voice is softer now, almost gentle. That's what makes it interesting. You saw a rude customer and you stood up for yourself, for your workplace, for the dignity you think everyone deserves. You didn't see Dominic Russo. You just saw an asshole who needed to be put in his place. Despite everything, despite my fear and my exhaustion, I feel a laugh bubble up in my throat. So you admit you were an asshole? His smile widens, and this time it reaches his eyes, transforming his face completely. I was, he agrees. I am. I've been having a very long, very bad day, and I took it out on people who didn't deserve it, including you. An apology. Dominic Russo is apologizing to me. Okay, I say slowly, not sure what else to say. So get in the car, he says, gesturing to the SUV. Let me give you a ride home. It's the least I can do. I glance at the bus stop, where a tired-looking woman is now sitting, pointedly not looking at us. The bus schedule says the next one should arrive in 15 minutes, but the buses are notoriously unreliable this time of night. Just a ride home, I say, making it a condition. Nothing else. Just a ride home, he agrees. You have my word. I don't know why, but I believe him. Maybe it's exhaustion, maybe it's the cold seeping through my jacket, maybe it's the way he's looking at me, not like prey, not like a possession, but like someone genuinely interesting. I follow him to the SUV, and he opens the door for me himself, an old-fashioned courtesy that seems at odds with everything else about him. The interior is warm, luxurious, with leather seats and that new car smell. One of his security guys is driving, the same one who was with him at the diner. Up close, I can see he's younger than I thought, maybe early 30s, with a scar bisecting his left eyebrow. Dominic slides in beside me, maintaining a careful distance, his hands folded in his lap. "Where do you live?" he asks. I hesitate, then give him the address. It's not like he couldn't find it anyway if he wanted to. He already knows where I work, both places. The SUV pulls away from the curb, moving smoothly through the empty streets. For a few minutes, neither of us speaks. I watch the familiar neighborhood slide by through the tinted windows, everything looking different from inside this expensive vehicle. "Why were you having a bad day?" I hear myself ask. He glances at me, surprise evident in his expression. "Why do you care?" "I don't know," I admit. "But you apologized. That seems like it deserves something." He's quiet for a long moment, his fingers drumming absently on his knee. "I lost someone today," he says finally. "Not family, but close enough. He worked for me for 20 years. Loyal, trustworthy, good man. Had a heart attack at his desk this morning." The pain in his voice is real, raw. Whatever else Dominic Russo might be, he's not immune to grief. "I'm sorry," I say softly. "So am I." He turns to look at me fully. "I came to your diner because it was close to the hospital where they took him. I wanted something familiar, something simple. Instead, I was an asshole, and you called me on it." "You were grieving," I say, understanding now. "People do stupid things when they're grieving. That's generous of you." "It's human," I correct. "We're all human, even mafia bosses." The words slip out before I can stop them, and I freeze, realizing what I've just said. But instead of getting angry, Dominic laughs, a genuine sound that fills the car. "Even mafia bosses," he agrees, still smiling. "Though I prefer businessman in mixed company." "Is that what you are?" I ask, emboldened by his laughter. "A businessman?" His smile fades slightly, replaced by something more serious. "I'm a lot of things, Mara. Some legitimate, some less so. But everything I do to protect what's mine. My family, my people, my city." "Your city?" I raise an eyebrow. "Pretty sure Chicago belongs to everyone." "In theory," he says. "In practice, someone has to maintain order, has to make sure the streets are safe, that businesses can operate, that families can sleep at night without fear. The police can't do it alone. Someone has to fill the gaps." It's a justification I've heard before. The idea that organized crime serves a purpose, maintains a certain kind of peace. I'm not sure I buy it, but I also know the South Side. Know how often the police don't come when called. How businesses pay protection money not to Russo, but to smaller, meaner gangs. The SUV pulls up in front of my building, a 5-story walk-up that's seen better decades. The security grates on the windows are rusted, the front door lock broken for the 3rd time this year. It's a far cry from whatever mansion or penthouse Dominic Russo calls home. He looks at the building, his expression unreadable. "This is where you live." It's not a question, but I answer anyway. "Best I can afford on 2 jobs." "2 jobs," he repeats. "The hospital laundry and the diner." "Yes." He turns to me, and there's something new in his eyes, something almost like respect. You work hard. I survive. I say simply. That's what you do when nobody's coming to save you. Something shifts in his expression, a flicker of recognition, as if my words have struck a chord. Yes, he says softly. That's exactly what you do. I reach for the door handle, but he catches my wrist, gently but firmly. His hand is warm, his touch sending an unexpected jolt of electricity through me. Mara, he says, his voice low. What you did tonight at the diner, standing up to me, that was either very brave or very stupid. Probably both, I admit. His lips curve into that almost smile. Probably. But it was also impressive. You didn't know who I was, didn't care about the consequences. You just saw injustice and you acted on it. He pauses, his thumb absently stroking the inside of my wrist. That's rare. That kind of fire. That integrity. My pulse is racing beneath his touch, and I'm acutely aware of how close he is, how the expensive cologne and leather scent of him fills my senses. What are you saying? I manage to ask. I'm saying I want to see you again, he says, his dark eyes locked on mine. Not as a rude customer and a waitress, as equals. We're not equals, I say, though my voice lacks conviction. You own half of Chicago. I barely own myself. Maybe that's why, he says. Because you're not impressed by what I have, what I can do. You looked at me and saw a man behaving badly. Nothing more, nothing less. And what do you see when you look at me? The question slips out before I can stop it. His eyes search mine, intense and unwavering. Fire, he says simply. Strength. Someone who knows what it means to survive, to fight for every inch of ground. Someone who doesn't break easily. How do you know I don't break easily? I challenge. Because you're here, he says. Because you're surviving on 2 jobs in one of the hardest neighborhoods in the city. Because you didn't back down when I tried to intimidate you, even when you found out who I am. His grip on my wrist tightens almost imperceptibly. And because I see it in your eyes, Mara Collins. You've been broken before, but you put yourself back together. That's not weakness. That's strength. The words hit too close to home, revealing knowledge of me he shouldn't have. You don't know me. Not yet, he agrees, but I want to. I should say no. Every rational part of my brain is screaming at me to thank him for the ride, get out of the car, and never look back. Dominic Russo is dangerous, connected to things I want nothing to do with, and his interest in me can only end badly. But there's another part of me, the part that's been alone for 5 years, that works 2 jobs and comes home to an empty apartment every night, that can't remember the last time someone looked at me the way Dominic is looking at me now, like I matter, like I'm worth knowing. One dinner, I hear myself say. Somewhere public, nowhere fancy, and I drive myself there and back. His smile is slow and satisfied. Done. Tomorrow night? I work tomorrow night. Tuesday then. I nod, already questioning my sanity. Tuesday. He releases my wrist finally, but the warmth of his touch lingers. I'll text you the details. I didn't give you my number. That dangerous smile returns. I know where you work, Mara. Getting your number was easy. I should be angry about that, about the invasion of privacy. Instead, I find myself fighting a smile. Of course it was. I step out of the SUV into the cold night air and he follows, walking me to the broken front door like a gentleman from another era. At the threshold, he stops, his hand reaching out to tuck a strand of hair behind my ear, the gesture surprisingly gentle. Thank you, he says softly, for seeing the person beneath the reputation. Thank you for the ride, I reply, my voice steadier than I feel. He steps back, returning to the SUV, but pauses before getting in. Mara, lock your door. This neighborhood isn't safe. Then he's gone, the SUV pulling away into the night, leaving me standing in front of my building with more questions than answers, and a strange flutter in my chest I haven't felt in years. I climb the 5 flights of stairs to my apartment, my feet aching and my mind racing. Inside, the studio is exactly as I left it this morning. Small, spare, but clean. One room serving as bedroom, living room, and dining room, with a tiny kitchen tucked in one corner and a bathroom barely big enough to turn around in. It's all I can afford. All I've been able to manage since my parents died and left me with nothing but their debts. I lock the door, all 3 locks, and lean against it, closing my eyes. What have I just agreed to? My phone buzzes in my pocket, making me jump. A text from an unknown number. Tuesday, 7 p.m. Moretti's on Clark Street. It's not fancy, I promise. D. I stare at the message, my thumb hovering over the reply button. I should cancel. Should text back that I've changed my mind, that this is a terrible idea. Instead, I save his number and type, "I'll be there." His response is immediate. "Good. Sleep well, Mara Collins. Dream of something better than this city gives you." I don't know how he knows that I don't. That I can't remember the last time I dreamed of anything but survival. But as I finally collapse into bed, exhaustion pulling me under, my last thought isn't of fear or danger or the complications I've just invited into my life. It's of dark eyes and a dangerous smile, and the way Dominic Russo looked at me like I was something precious. Like I was fire. Tuesday arrives too quickly and not quickly enough. I spend the intervening days in a state of nervous anticipation, jumping every time my phone buzzes, second-guessing my decision 1,000 times. At the hospital laundry, I fold sheets with mechanical precision while my mind replays that moment in the SUV, the feel of Dominic's hand on my wrist, the intensity in his eyes. At the diner, I'm hyper-aware of every customer who walks through the door, half expecting to see him again, though he doesn't come. Tommy watches me with concern, asking twice if I'm feeling all right, if I need more time off. I tell him I'm fine. It's a lie. Monday night, I stand in front of my tiny closet, staring at the meager selection of clothes hanging there. Nothing seems right for dinner with a man who wears cashmere and drives SUVs that cost more than I'll make in a decade. My nicest jeans have a patch on one knee. My best sweater is pilling at the elbows. In the end, I choose a simple black dress I bought at a thrift store 2 years ago for a job interview that never panned out. It's plain, but fits well, and with my one pair of decent boots and my mother's vintage coat, the only thing of hers I kept, I look presentable, if not impressive. Tuesday drags interminably. My morning shift at the hospital feels like it lasts days. I scrub stubborn stains from surgical linens and try not to think about the fact that Dominic Russo owns the company that owns this place. That in some distant corporate way, he signs my paychecks. By 6:30, I'm dressed and staring at myself in the small mirror hanging on my bathroom door. My dark hair falls in waves around my shoulders. I'd splurged on a drugstore deep conditioner. My hazel eyes are wide with nerves, my cheeks flushed. You can still cancel, I tell my reflection. Text him. Say you're sick. Say you changed your mind. But I don't. Instead, I grab my purse, lock my apartment, and head downstairs to where my ancient Honda Civic waits at the curb, prayer required each time I turn the key. The engine turns over on the 3rd try, a good omen or a bad one. I can't decide which. Moretti's is a small Italian restaurant in a neighborhood nicer than mine, but not ostentatiously wealthy. Through the windows, I can see red checkered tablecloths, candles and wine bottles, the warm glow of old-world charm. True to his word, it's not fancy. It's intimate, comfortable, real. I park on the street and sit in my car for a full minute, hands gripping the steering wheel, giving myself one last chance to run. Then I see him. Dominic stands outside the restaurant, hands in the pockets of a dark jacket, his breath clouding in the December air. He's not looking at his phone, not checking his watch. He's just waiting, patient and still, and when his eyes find my car, when he sees me sitting there, he smiles. It's not the dangerous, almost smile from before. It's genuine, pleased, almost relieved, as if he'd thought I might not come. That smile is what gets me out of the car. "Mara," he says as I approach, my boots clicking on the pavement. His eyes sweep over me, appreciation evident. "You look beautiful." "You clean up nice yourself," I say, because he does. Dark jeans, a charcoal sweater that probably costs more than my rent. That same leather jacket that makes him look less businessman and more what he really is. Dangerous, powerful, completely out of my league. He offers his arm, old-fashioned and courteous, and after a moment's hesitation, I take it. Inside, Moretti's smells of garlic and fresh bread and red wine. The hostess greets Dominic by name, of course she does, and leads us to a corner table, private but not isolated. Other couples populate the restaurant, their conversations creating a comfortable buzz of background noise. Dominic holds my chair for me before taking his own seat. A waiter appears immediately with water and wine menus, his deference to Dominic obvious but not obsequious. "The house red is excellent," Dominic says, watching me over his menu. "Unless you prefer white?" "Red is fine," I say, then add, "as long as you're not trying to get me drunk so I'll agree to something I shouldn't." His laugh is startled and genuine. "Mara, if I wanted you to agree to something, I'd simply ask. I've found you respond better to honesty than manipulation." "Have you found that?" I raise an eyebrow. "In the 3 whole interactions we've had?" "Quality over quantity," he says, that smile playing at his lips again. "You've made quite an impression in those 3 interactions." The waiter returns with wine, pours for both of us, and takes our order. I choose the cheapest pasta on the menu out of habit, but Dominic orders an appetizer to share and insists I'll want to save room for tiramisu. When we're alone again, he raises his glass. "To fire," he says simply. I touch my glass to his. "To not getting burned." We sip, and the wine is rich and smooth, warming me from the inside. "Tell me about yourself," Dominic says, leaning back in his chair with the easy confidence of someone who's always in control. "The things I don't already know from my background check." I should be angry about the background check, but I'm not. Not really. In his world, I imagine caution is survival. "What do you want to know?" "Everything. Start with why you're working 2 jobs that barely pay your rent when you have a degree in international business from Northwestern." The knowledge shouldn't surprise me, but it does. "You really did dig deep." "I'm thorough," he says without apology. "So? Why the laundry in the diner?" I take another sip of wine, gathering my thoughts. "My parents died 5 years ago. Car accident on the expressway. Dad was driving. A truck crossed the median. They died instantly." The words come out flat, recited. The way they do when you've told the story too many times. They left debts. A lot of them. Medical bills from my mom's cancer treatment 2 years before. Credit cards. A second mortgage they'd taken out to pay for my college. Dominic's expression softens with understanding. "And you took on the debts." "I'm their only child. There was nobody else." I shrug, trying for nonchalance. "So yes, I took on the debts. Dropped out of grad school, took the first jobs I could find that would let me work enough hours to make payments. 5 years later, I'm almost clear. Another 8 months and I'll be debt-free." "And then what?" he asks, genuinely curious. "And then I figure out what comes next," I say. "Maybe I go back to school. Maybe I finally use my degree for something other than understanding why I'm so broke. He's quiet for a moment, studying me with that intense focus that makes me feel like I'm the only person in the world. You could have declared bankruptcy. Let the debts go. They were my parents' debts, I say simply. Their legacy. I wasn't going to let that be taken away by some legal maneuver. They worked their whole lives, tried to give me a better future. The least I could do was honor that. Something shifts in Dominic's expression, a flash of emotion I can't quite name. Respect, maybe, or recognition. What? I ask. My father would have liked you, he says quietly. He believed in honoring debts too, in family above everything. Would have? I catch the past tense. He died 8 years ago. Cancer. Dominic's fingers tighten slightly on his wine glass. He built everything we have from nothing. Came to Chicago from Sicily with nothing but his name and his determination. By the time he died, he owned. He stops, seeming to reconsider his words. He owned enough. And you inherited it all, I say. Not a question. The empire, the expectations, the enemies. He agrees. Everything. Our appetizer arrives. Bruschetta with tomatoes and basil that tastes like summer despite the December cold outside. We eat in companionable silence for a moment before I dare to ask the question that's been burning in my mind. Why me, Dominic? Really, you could have any woman in Chicago. Women who understand your world, who fit into it. Why a waitress from the South Side who threw you out of a diner? He sets down his wine glass, leaning forward, his eyes intense. Because you threw me out of a diner, he says. Because you looked at me and didn't see power or money or danger. You saw a man behaving badly and you called him on it. Do you know how rare that is? How long it's been since someone looked at me and saw just me? I don't know you well enough to see just you, I point out. Exactly, he says, and there's something almost vulnerable in his expression. You don't know me, which means you haven't decided who I am yet. You're not impressed by the reputation, not intimidated by the power, not seduced by the money. You're giving me a chance to be someone other than Dominic Russo, heir to the Russo empire. And who do you want to be? I ask softly. He's quiet for a long moment, and I can see him wrestling with the answer, deciding how much truth to give me. Someone who matters for more than fear, he says finally. Someone who builds instead of just maintaining what came before. Someone who... He stops, laughs self-deprecatingly. Someone who can have a normal dinner with a beautiful woman without her knowing whether to be flattered or terrified. I can be both, I admit, and his laugh this time is genuine. Our main courses arrive, and we talk about safer things. Favorite books, movies we've seen a dozen times, The Changing Neighborhood, Chicago Winters. He's surprisingly easy to talk to once the weight of his reputation is temporarily set aside. He's smart, well-read, funny in a dry way that catches me off guard. By the time tiramisu arrives, 1 plate, 2 forks, which feels dangerously intimate, I've almost forgotten why this is a terrible idea. Almost. I need to ask you something, I say as we share the dessert, our forks occasionally clashing in the middle of the plate. And I need you to be honest with me. His expression grows serious. Always. The things people say about you, about your family, are they true? He doesn't flinch from the question, doesn't try to deflect. Some of them. We run legitimate businesses, restaurants, construction, waste management, real estate. But there are other interests too. Less visible, less legal. He holds my gaze steadily. I won't lie to you, Mara. My world has darkness in it. Things I'm not proud of, but that I do because they're necessary. Because they protect my family and the people who depend on us. Like protection rackets? I ask, thinking of the stories I've heard about businesses paying the Russo family for safety. Like making sure those businesses stay safe. He corrects gently. The police can't be everywhere. We can. We are. And yes, there's a cost for that service. But it's a cost people pay willingly because they know their shops won't be robbed. Their daughters won't be hassled walking home. Their neighborhoods won't descend into chaos. That's a rationalization, I say. It's reality, he counters. I didn't create this system, Mara. I inherited it. But I'm trying to make it better, cleaner, moving more operations legitimate, reducing the violence, treating people fairly. His jaw tightens. My father's generation built the empire with blood and fear. I want to maintain it with respect and business sense. I should be appalled, should stand up and walk out. But I find myself asking instead, have you killed anyone? The question hangs between us, stark and brutal. Yes, he says simply. No hesitation, no sugarcoating. Not often, not recently, but yes. Men who threatened my family, who would have killed me or people I love if I hadn't acted first. His eyes search mine. Does that change things? I think about it, really think about it. I don't know, I admit. I should say yes, should be horrified. But I grew up on the South Side, Dominic. I've seen what violence looks like when it's random, purposeless. If what you're saying is true, if you only hurt people who would hurt others, I trail off, not sure how to finish that thought. It doesn't make it right, he says quietly, but it makes it understandable, necessary even. We finish the tiramisu in silence, the weight of honesty settling between us. When the check comes, Dominic pays with cash, lots of it, and waves away my offer to split it with a look that says, "Don't insult me." Outside, the December night has grown colder, snow beginning to fall in lazy spirals under the streetlights. My car is parked half a block away, and we walk toward it slowly, neither of us quite ready for the evening to end. I had a good time tonight, I say when we reach my Honda, its paint oxidized and one taillight held on with duct tape, such a stark contrast to his world. So did I, he says, and means it. He reaches out, his hand cupping my cheek with surprising gentleness. Can I see you again? I should say no, should thank him for dinner and drive away and never look back. But I don't want to. Yes, I hear myself say. You can see me again. His smile is slow and satisfied, and he leans in, giving me plenty of time to pull away if I want to. I don't want to. His lips are warm against mine, the kiss gentle but purposeful, tasting of wine and coffee and something darker, more dangerous. His hand slides into my hair, angling my head, and I respond despite every warning bell in my head, my hands fisting in his jacket, pulling him closer. When we finally break apart, both breathing hard, his forehead rests against mine. Mara Collins, he murmurs, you're going to be the death of me. Funny, I whisper back. I was thinking the same thing about you. He laughs, stepping back reluctantly. Text me when you get home, so I know you're safe. I've been getting home by myself for 5 years, I point out. Humor me, he says, and there's something in his voice that makes it not quite a request. I nod, getting into my car. He waits until I've started the engine. First try this time, definitely a good omen, before walking away toward a dark sedan parked on the other side of the street. Not the SUV from before. Something lower profile, but no less expensive. I drive home with my lips still tingling, my mind racing. At every stoplight, I catch myself smiling like an idiot. This is dangerous. This is crazy. This is everything I shouldn't want. But God help me, I want it anyway. I'm 3 blocks from my apartment when I notice the car behind me. Dark sedan, tinted windows, following at exactly the same distance for the past 10 minutes. Every turn I make, it makes. Every lane change, it mirrors. My heart starts to pound. I reach for my phone, Dominic's number already pulled up, my thumb hovering over the call button. Then the car pulls alongside me at a red light, and I see the driver. Not Dominic, but one of his security guys from the diner. The one with the scar through his eyebrow. He nods once, a clear acknowledgement, then drops back as the light turns green. He's following me home. Dominic has someone following me home to make sure I'm safe. I should be angry about this, about the invasion of privacy, the presumption. Instead, I feel something else entirely. Protected, cared for, important enough to guard. The thought terrifies me more than the danger ever could. At my building, I park and look in my rearview mirror. The dark sedan is still there, idling half a block away. I text Dominic. Made it home. You didn't have to have someone follow me. His response is immediate. Yes, I did. Sleep well. I climb the 5 flights to my apartment, unlock all 3 locks, and step inside. Only then do I hear the engine of the sedan pull away. I lean against my door and close my eyes, trying to process everything that's happened. The dinner, the conversation, the kiss, the admission of violence, the protective shadow following me home. My phone buzzes again. Another text from Dominic. Thursday. Dinner at my place. I want you to see my world, not just the pretty parts. Say yes. I stare at the message for a long time. Dinner at his place means crossing a threshold, means entering his territory, his domain. It means trust. It means danger. I type, yes. I'm already in too deep to turn back now. Thursday morning, I wake to find an envelope slipped under my door. Inside is a note in elegant handwriting and a key card. Mara. My address is on the back of this card. Come at 7. The key will get you through the private elevator. Dress comfortably. We're staying in. There's something I need to tell you. Something you should know before we go any further. D. The ominous tone of the note sends a chill through me, but I'm committed now. Besides, my curiosity outweighs my caution. I go through my day in a daze, folding laundry at the hospital while my mind conjures increasingly dramatic scenarios about what Dominic needs to tell me. By the time my shift ends at 3, I'm wound tight with nervous energy. At home, I shower and change into jeans and a soft sweater, comfortable, as requested. I pull my hair into a loose braid and apply minimal makeup. If he wants to see the real me, not some dressed-up version, this is it. The address on the card is in the Gold Coast naturally, the kind of neighborhood where doormen wear gloves and lobby floors gleam with fresh polish daily. The building is sleek and modern, all glass and steel, with a doorman who nods at me as if expecting my arrival. Miss Collins? He asks, and when I nod, he gestures toward a private elevator. Mr. Russo is expecting you. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. The key card grants me access, and the elevator rises smoothly, quickly, making my stomach drop. It opens directly into a penthouse that takes my breath away. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlook Lake Michigan and the Chicago skyline, the city spread out like a glittering kingdom. The space is open concept, decorated with clean lines and expensive furniture that somehow manages to feel warm rather than cold. Artwork dots the walls, real art, not prints. A fireplace crackles with real flames, and standing by those windows, silhouetted against the city lights, is Dominic. He turns as the elevator doors close behind me, and the look on his face is unlike anything I've seen before. Not the confidence, not the dangerous charm. Something more vulnerable, more uncertain. You came, he says, as if he'd thought I might not. You knew I would, I reply, stepping into the space. That's why you sent the key card. A ghost of a smile touches his lips. Maybe. Or maybe I hoped. He's dressed casually. Jeans and a Henley. That emphasizes his broad shoulders. And his feet are bare. The intimacy of that small detail, seeing him without the armor of expensive shoes and power suits, makes my breath catch. Your home is beautiful, I say, because it is. It's a cage, he says, surprising me. A very beautiful, very comfortable cage, but a cage nonetheless. He gestures toward the kitchen, where I can see wine and cheese laid out on the counter. Drink? I promise the wine isn't drugged, and I'm not trying to seduce you. What are you trying to do? I ask, accepting a glass of red. He's quiet for a moment, swirling his own wine. I'm trying to be honest with you. Completely honest. Because if we're going to do this, whatever this is between us, you need to know what you're getting into. My heart rate picks up. Okay, I'm listening. He sets down his wine and walks to a desk tucked in a corner of the room. From a drawer, he pulls out a thick folder and brings it back to where I'm standing. This is you, he says, handing it to me. Everything I know about you. I want you to see it, to understand how much I've invaded your privacy, how much I know that you never told me. With shaking hands, I open the folder. Inside are documents, photos, records. My entire life laid bare. Birth certificate, school records, my parents' death certificates, credit reports showing every debt I'm paying off, employment records from both jobs, even photos of me at the diner, at the hospital, walking to the bus stop. You've been following me, I say, my voice tight. For how long? Since the night at the diner, he admits. I needed to know who you were, if you were a threat, if someone had sent you to get close to me. It's not paranoia, Mara. People have tried before, women especially. Getting close to me, earning my trust, then betraying me for whoever paid them more. I flip through the pages, anger and violation warring with understanding. In his world, trust is a luxury he can't afford. And what did you find? I ask, closing the folder. Am I a threat? No, he says simply. You're exactly who you appear to be. A woman trying to survive, to honor her parents' memory, to do the right thing even when it costs you everything. He takes the folder from me, setting it aside. You're real, Mara. And that's so rare in my world that I don't even know how to handle it. So what now? I ask. You know everything about me and I know barely anything about you. That's not exactly equal footing. No, it's not, he agrees. So ask me anything. Anything you want to know, I'll answer honestly. I move to the couch, sinking into leather so soft it feels like butter, and he sits beside me, close but not touching, giving me space to think. Tell me about your family, I say finally. Not the business, the people. His expression softens. My father, Antonio, died of cancer 8 years ago. He was hard, demanding, but fair in his own way. He believed in family above everything, in protecting what was ours, in honoring the old ways while adapting to the new. Dominic's voice drops. I was 25 when he died, barely ready to take over, but I had no choice. My mother had already passed when I was 16, a car accident, though some people whispered it wasn't really an accident. Do you think it was? I ask quietly. I don't know, he admits. My father never talked about it, never investigated. He just closed that part of himself off. He looks at me. I have a sister, Lucia. She's 28, lives in New York, runs the family's art galleries. Legitimate business, clean money. I made sure of that. She wanted no part of the other side of our world. And you respect that, I observe. I respect her, he says simply. She's the only family I have left. I'd do anything to protect her, even if she doesn't understand why I do what I do. I don't answer, walking faster now, my hand digging in my purse for my phone. Miss Collins, we just want to talk, the voice continues. Mr. Ferrero has a message for Mr. Russo. One more block. I can see my building now, the security grate on the front door that never locks properly. The car suddenly accelerates, cutting in front of me, blocking my path. Both front doors open and two men step out. Not as large as Marco, but big enough. Dangerous enough. We're going to take a little ride, the driver says, moving toward me. Don't make this difficult. Everything slows down. I see the driver's hand reaching for me, see the passengers circling around to cut off my escape. I see, over their shoulders, another car pulling up fast. Black SUV with tinted windows. Dominic's men. But they're still half a block away, and the driver's hand is already closing around my arm, his grip painful. I do the only thing I can think of. I scream. Not a high-pitched shriek, but a deep, loud yell that echoes off the buildings, that brings faces to windows, that makes the two men hesitate just long enough. Long enough for the SUV to screech to a halt beside us. Long enough for Marco to emerge with three other men, all armed, all focused. Let her go, Marco says, his voice deadly calm. Now. The driver's grip on my arm tightens for a moment, his eyes calculating odds. Then he sees the guns, sees the determination on Marco's face, and releases me, stepping back with his hands raised. We're just delivering a message, he says, trying for innocence. No harm intended. The message is received, Marco says, moving to my side, his body a shield between me and Ferrero's men. Now get in your car and leave. Tell Ferrero we'll be in touch. They hesitate, clearly wanting to save face, but outgunned and outmaneuvered. Finally, they retreat to their sedan, pulling away with deliberate slowness. Marco's hand is gentle on my elbow. Are you hurt? I shake my head, adrenaline making me tremble. I'm okay. They didn't... I'm okay. We need to move, one of Marco's men says urgently, before they come back with reinforcements. Within minutes, I'm in the SUV, Marco beside me, speeding through Chicago streets toward Dominic's penthouse. My hands are shaking, my breath coming in short gasps. You did good, Marco says, surprising me. The scream was smart, drew attention, made them hesitate. I was terrified, I admit. Terrified people run or freeze. You fought back. That's courage, Miss Collins. At the penthouse, Dominic is waiting, his face a mask of controlled fury. He pulls me into his arms the moment I step off the elevator, holding me so tightly I can barely breathe. I'm okay, I murmur against his chest. I'm okay, Dominic. You shouldn't have been in that situation, he says, his voice rough with emotion. I should have had more men on you, should have... You had exactly enough men, I interrupt, pulling back to look at him. They got there in time. I'm safe. And now you have what you needed. Proof that Ferrero moved on me. Proof, he repeats bitterly. Is that worth you being grabbed? Being terrified? Yes, I say firmly, because now you can end this. Now you can move against him without starting a war. His eyes search mine, and I can see the war within him. The man who wants to protect me at all costs, versus the leader who knows I'm right. Tomorrow, he says finally. Tomorrow, we end this. That night, I stay at the penthouse. Not in the guest room this time, but in Dominic's room. In his bed, wrapped in his arms. We don't make love. The timing isn't right. The tension too high. But we hold each other, taking comfort from presence, from heartbeat, from breath. After tomorrow, he murmurs into the darkness. After this is over, I want to take you away somewhere. Just us. Somewhere you can breathe, can relax, can be Mara instead of Dominic Russo's woman. Where? I ask, drawing patterns on his chest with my fingertip. Anywhere you want. Italy, maybe. I could show you where my father came from, where your grandfather lived before he came to America. Or somewhere warm. Mexico, the Caribbean. Somewhere with sun and sand and no one trying to kill us. I laugh despite everything. That sounds perfect. After tomorrow, he promises. But tomorrow comes with complications. I wake to raised voices from somewhere else in the penthouse. Dominic is already gone, his side of the bed cold. I pull on his robe, massive on me, smelling like him, and pad toward the sound. In the living room, Dominic stands with 5 other men, including Marco. A woman I don't recognize sits on the couch, her face pale, her hands twisted in her lap. "We have a problem," one of the men is saying as I approach. "Ferrero's moved his people out of the city. His warehouses are empty. His club's closed. He's gone to ground." Dominic's jaw is tight. "When?" "Last night. After the attempted grab on Miss Collins." The man, older, with calculating eyes, glances at me. "He knows we're coming for him." "So we wait him out," another man suggests. "He can't hide forever." "He can hide long enough," Dominic counters. "Long enough for his allies to pressure the other families, to make this look like I'm the aggressor." He runs a hand through his hair in frustration. "We had one shot at this, and he slipped through." "Maybe not," the woman on the couch says quietly, and everyone turns to look at her. "Explain," Dominic says. She stands, smoothing down her dress with nervous hands. "I'm Gina Moretti. I've been working at Ferrero's main office for 3 years. Filing mostly. But I see things, hear things." She swallows hard. "He has a safe house. Outside the city, in a estate near Lake Geneva. That's where he goes when there's trouble." "And you're telling us this why?" Marco asks suspiciously. "Because he killed my brother," Gina says, her voice breaking. 2 months ago. Said Nico was skimming, which he wasn't. But Ferrero doesn't need reasons, just excuses. Tears stream down her face. "I want him to pay. I want justice." Dominic studies her for a long moment. "You understand what you're doing? If Ferrero finds out you helped us, then I'm dead either way." She interrupts. "At least this way. My brother's death means something." He nods slowly. "Marco, verify her information. If it checks out, we move tonight." The next hours are a flurry of preparation. Men come and go, weapons are checked, plans are made and revised. I stay out of the way, watching as Dominic transforms into the general his father trained him to be. "You should stay here," he says when evening falls and the team is ready to move. "Marco will keep 2 men with you." "No," I interrupt. "I'm coming with you." His expression darkens. "Mara, this is a tactical operation. There will be violence." "I know." I cut him off. "And I'm still coming. Ferrero made this about me. I should be there when it ends." "Absolutely not. It's too dangerous." "You promised me equal footing," I remind him. "You promised to respect my choices." "This is my choice, Dominic." We stare at each other, wills clashing. Finally, he closes his eyes, exhaling slowly. "You stay in the car," he says. "You stay with Marco and 2 other men, far from the action. At the first sign of trouble, you leave. Those are my terms." "Deal," I agree immediately. His eyes narrow. "That was too easy. You're planning something." "I'm planning to trust you," I say honestly, "and to be there when you come back." We leave as darkness falls, a convoy of 3 vehicles heading north out of Chicago. I'm in the second SUV with Marco and 2 other guards whose names I don't catch. Dominic leads in the first vehicle with his core team. The drive takes nearly 2 hours, the landscape gradually changing from urban sprawl to suburban emptiness to rural isolation. The safe house, when we finally approach it, is a sprawling estate set back from the road, gated and fenced, lights blazing in every window. He knows we're coming, Marco mutters, studying the property through binoculars. Too many lights, too much activity. Dominic's voice crackles through the radio. Doesn't matter, we end this tonight. Alpha team, take the north entrance. Bravo team, south. I'll go through the front with Charlie team. Marco, keep Miss Collins safe and be ready for evac if needed. Copy that, boss, Marco replies. From my position in the SUV, parked on a rise overlooking the estate, I watch as Dominic's men move into position with practiced efficiency. They're professionals. Every movement coordinated, every angle covered. Then all hell breaks loose. The front door of the estate explodes outward in a burst of splinters and smoke. Gunfire erupts from multiple positions, muzzle flashes lighting up the darkness like deadly fireflies. Contact! Someone shouts through the radio. Multiple hostiles. North side. Bravo team, report! The radio descends into chaos, overlapping voices and static. Beside me, Marco is tense, his hand on his weapon, his eyes never leaving the scene below. Should we do something? I ask, my heart pounding. We stay here, Marco says firmly. Boss's orders. But something's wrong. I can feel it. The pattern of gunfire is wrong, too concentrated on one side, as if Ferrero's men are hurting Dominic's team somewhere specific. Marco, I say urgently, it's a trap. They're pushing them toward... A massive explosion rocks the night, a fireball erupting from the estate's east wing, the shockwave strong enough to rattle our vehicle even at this distance. Jesus, one of Marco's men breathes. Alpha team, report! Marco shouts into the radio. Boss, do you copy? Static. Charlie team, anyone, respond. More static. Then, finally, Dominic's voice, strained and breathless. We're pinned down, East Wing. Casualties. Need? The transmission cuts off. Marco makes a decision in an instant. Stay here, he orders me and the other guards. Watch her, I'm going in. Marco, wait. I start, but he's already gone, sprinting down the hill toward the chaos. I sit in the SUV with the two guards, watching the battle unfold, feeling utterly helpless. More explosions rock the night. The gunfire intensifies, then gradually diminishes, then stops altogether. The silence that follows is somehow worse than the noise. Minutes tick by with agonizing slowness. 5, 10, 15. Then movement. Men emerging from the estate, some limping, some supporting others. I scan their faces desperately in the darkness, looking for one specific profile, one specific stride. The passenger door opens, and Marco slides in, blood streaming from a cut above his eye, his expression grim. Dominic? I ask, my voice small. He's alive, Marco says immediately, and relief nearly overwhelms me. Wounded, but alive. We got Ferrero. He's dead. But the cost? He shakes his head. We lost 4 men. Good men. Take me to him, I demand. Take me to Dominic now. Marco hesitates, then nods, starting the engine. We drive down to the estate, through gates hanging from twisted hinges, past the smoldering wreckage of expensive cars. Dominic sits on the front steps, a medic working on his arm, his face smudged with soot and blood. When he sees me, relief floods his features. Mara, he says, trying to stand, but the medic pushes him back down. Stay still, boss, the medic says. This needs stitches. I run to him, falling to my knees in front of him, my hands cupping his face. You're alive, I whisper. You're alive. I promise to come back, he says, his voice hoarse. I keep my promises. Your arm. Shrapnel. I'll live. His good hand comes up to cover mine. Ferrero's dead. It's over. At what cost? I ask, thinking of the 4 men Marco mentioned. Pain flickers across his face. Too high a cost, It's always too high. He pulls me closer despite the medic's protest. But it's over, Mara. You're safe. We're safe. Around us, men move through the wreckage, collecting the wounded, documenting what happened. In the distance, sirens wail. Local police, probably. But no one seems concerned. Dominic's reach extends even here, even in the aftermath of battle. The medic finishes with his arm, wrapping it in clean white bandages that contrast sharply with his blood-stained shirt. We should go, Marco says quietly, before the locals start asking questions we don't want to answer. The ride back to Chicago is subdued. Dominic sits beside me, his injured arm in my lap, my fingers tracing gentle patterns on his uninjured hand. He's exhausted, the adrenaline finally wearing off, leaving behind only weariness and grief. 4 men, he murmurs at one point. 4 families I have to visit. Condolences I have to offer that will never be enough. They knew the risks, I say softly. They chose to follow you. That doesn't make them less dead. His eyes meet mine, haunted. This is my world, Mara. Death and violence and impossible choices. Are you sure you want to be part of it? I think about this question. Really think about it. Tonight I watched men die. I heard explosions and gunfire. I sat helpless while the man I'm falling for risked his life. It should send me running. Instead, I lean over and kiss him, gentle and sure. I'm sure, I say against his lips. I've never been more sure of anything. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you love this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story. Three months later, I stand in a different penthouse in a different city, watching the sun rise over the Italian countryside through floor-to-ceiling windows. Florence. True to his word, Dominic brought me here. Not immediately. There were funerals to attend, families to support, investigations to navigate. The official story was a property dispute gone wrong, self-defense, tragic, but justified. Money changed hands, favors were called in, and eventually, the questions stopped. Ferrero's death created a power vacuum that Dominic moved quickly to fill, but on his terms. More legitimate operations, less violence, cleaner money. It's a slow transformation, one that will take years, but he's committed to it. You're up early, Dominic says from behind me, his arms wrapping around my waist, pulling my back against his chest. His injured arm healed well, leaving only a faint scar as a reminder. Couldn't sleep, I admit, leaning into his warmth. Too excited. Today is important. Today, I meet his sister Lucia, who flew in last night. Today, I'm officially introduced to his family as more than just someone I'm seeing. Nervous? He asks, pressing a kiss to my temple. Terrified, I admit. What if she hates me? She won't, he says with certainty. She already loves you. She hasn't met me. She knows you make me happy. That's enough for Lucia. He turns me in his arms, his dark eyes serious. Besides, I told her you're the woman I'm going to marry. She's required to love you. I freeze. Marry? Eventually, he adds quickly, seeing my expression. When you're ready. When you've had time to be sure this is what you want. No pressure. But there is pressure, the good kind. The pressure of potential, of possibility, of a future I never imagined having. Ask me again in 6 months, I say, my fingers playing with the collar of his shirt. After I've met your sister, seen more of your world, after we've had a chance to be normal for a while. We'll never be normal, he reminds me, echoing words from months ago. Then extraordinary, I amend, just as I did then. Ask me again after 6 months of extraordinary. His smile is brilliant. Deal. We spend the morning exploring Florence, my city, showing Dominic places I knew as a child, the gelato shop where my grandmother used to take me, the piazza where I scraped my knee learning to ride a bike, the church where my parents were married. It's healing. This reclamation of my past, this integration of old memories with new hope. Lucia arrives at the villa we've rented for lunch, and she's nothing like I expected. Small and dark-haired like her brother, but with a warmth that radiates from her immediately. She hugs me like we're old friends, not strangers. Finally, she says in English touched with an Italian accent. Finally, someone who can handle my brother's nonsense. Lucia, Dominic warns, but he's smiling. We eat on the terrace overlooking vineyards and olive groves, drinking wine and talking for hours. Lucia tells stories about young Dominic, serious even as a child, always protecting her, always taking responsibility. I tell her about my own childhood, about my parents, about the years of struggle after they died. You're a survivor, Lucia says at one point, her eyes knowing. Like Dominic. That's why you fit. You both understand what it means to keep going when everything says stop. As the sun sets, painting the Tuscan sky in shades of gold and pink, Dominic takes my hand. Walk with me? He asks. We wander through the olive groves, the evening air warm and fragrant. He's quiet, contemplative, and I let him gather his thoughts. I've been thinking, he says finally, about what I want my legacy to be, what I want to leave behind when I'm gone. And, I prompt gently, I want it to be more than fear, more than power. He stops walking, turning to face me, the setting sun backlighting him. I want to build something good, Mara. Schools, maybe. Programs for kids in neighborhoods like yours, like mine. Give them options beyond violence, beyond the life I lived. That's a beautiful dream, I say softly. It's more than a dream. I'm making it real. I've already started. His hands frame my face. And I want you with me. Not as my weakness, not as someone I protect. As my partner, my equal, the person who reminds me why I'm doing this. Tears prick my eyes. Dominic. I know. 6 months. No pressure. He smiles. But I wanted you to know. Whatever you decide, whatever you choose, I'm building something worth staying for. I'm not going anywhere, I whisper. You're stuck with me. Good, he says, pulling me close. That's exactly what I was hoping you'd say. We kiss as the sun disappears below the horizon, as the first stars emerge in the darkening sky. It's not the end of our story. We're too young, too complicated, too damaged for neat endings. But it's a beginning. A real one, built on honesty and choice, and the kind of fire that doesn't burn out easily. I came to Florence expecting to say goodbye to my grandmother, to close a chapter of my life. Instead, I found Dominic Russo, and with him, I found a future I never knew I wanted. Dangerous, yes. Complicated, absolutely. But mine. 6 months later, when he asks me again, this time with a ring that belonged to his grandmother, this time on one knee in the same diner where we met, I say yes without hesitation. Because sometimes the most unexpected collisions create the most beautiful transformations, and sometimes refusing to serve the rude customer is exactly what saves you. We marry in a small ceremony in Florence, in the same church where my parents were married. Lucia stands as my maid of honor, Marco as Dominic's best man. No mafia politics, no power plays, just family, both blood and chosen. I keep working, but not at the laundry or the diner. Instead, I help Dominic build his legitimate empire, using my business degree finely, running the charitable foundation he's established in his father's name and my grandfather's memory. We split our time between Chicago and Italy, between the demands of his world and the peace of mine. We fight sometimes, both of us too stubborn, too used to survival to surrender easily. But we always come back together, drawn by something stronger than either of us. On our first anniversary, Dominic takes me back to Rosie's diner. Tommy is still there, older now but smiling when he sees us. Mara, he says, coming around the counter to hug me. And Mr. Russo, welcome back. Just Dominic, please, Dominic says, shaking his hand. And we were hoping you had room for two. No reservations, just two people wanting a good meal at an honest place. We sit in the same booth where I refuse to serve him. We order burgers. No special preparation, no substitutions. We eat and laugh and remember how we started. Do you ever regret it? I ask at one point. That night I threw you out? How different things could have been? Dominic reaches across the table, taking my hand. Not for a second, he says. You saw me at my worst and called me on it. You gave me fire when I needed it most. How could I regret the best thing that's ever happened to me? Sweet talker, I tease. Always, he agrees, but only with you. We leave a ridiculous tip, more than the meal cost, and walk out into the Chicago night hand in hand. The city is still dangerous. The South Side is still struggling. The world hasn't changed. But we have. And sometimes, that's enough. Sometimes, one person refusing to accept unacceptable behavior, one person standing up for dignity and respect, one unexpected connection between two broken people, sometimes that changes everything. I refused to serve Dominic Russo because he was rude, dismissive, cruel. He pursued me because I had fire, and together, we built something that burns bright enough to light up even the darkest corners of our worlds. Not perfect, not safe, not simple, but ours, and that makes it extraordinary. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you love this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.